Hello, and welcome back to Cargo Cafe. As always, I'm your host, Libby Hausman, and I'm joined with Riley Wiles. We're so excited to have you guys back to be talking about cross-border freight going into Mexico. We have a really great presentation and speaker today. This is actually kind of a special topic for you, Riley. You kind of got your start in domestic freight.
Yeah.
So happy to have you here to chat with us.
Yeah, no, it's watching cross-border freight evolve over the last 10 years has been amazing. Continues to evolve, and we got a great expert on with us. Ryan Shannon brought him on board 8 years ago, I believe, and he's really taken the reins on that. So excited to hear his perspective.
Yeah, I think this is a great topic to be discussing right now, as there is a lot happening with our border, and we just want to make sure that we are being a good resource and providing whatever education that we can. Before we jump into the topic, I did want to give a quick update on the rest of the world, some of the international tariff things that are going on. I reached out to our Vice President, Jack McDonough, to ask for a little blurb update I could read and share with everyone today. So I'm going to just go ahead and get that out of the way right up top, and we can dive into our topic after that. So as of right now, there is still a 10% flat reciprocal tariff on most products globally, regardless of the country of origin. Additional country-specific tariffs have been suspended until July 9th while negotiations take place. As most of us may know, there are several trade deals that have already went through with the UK, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE. However, that 10% tariff still remains for those countries. As of May 4th, we can now add China to that list. China is still subject to the 20% IEEPA tariff, while the other countries are not. So the effective new baseline tariff rate for Chinese products is 30% versus most other countries still sitting at 10%. This temporary reduction of the reciprocal tariff is valid through August 12th. So right now we are still seeing exemptions for certain tech products and semiconductors, and we will hopefully have more of an update when that deal expires on August 12th. So that's just a little bit of a tariff update. Wanted to make sure we got that out of the way. I know that's a hot topic for lots of people, and we're always here to be a resource on that. Before we get into our topic today of cross-border freight into Mexico, I wanted to give a brief introduction of our guest speaker. We have Ryan Shannon presenting today. Ryan joined Bestway in 2016 as an account manager shortly after the launch of our company's ground freight division. Over the past decade, he's been instrumental in shaping Bestway's cross-border operations, developing foundational processes that support our North American freight network. Now he serves as the head of our North American logistics services. Ryan and his team specialize in cross-border trucking between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, handling everything from single pallet moves to large over-dimensional freight. I'm not sure if he wants me to say this, but Ryan is also a self-proclaimed certified dad joke teller. So you might get a little bit of that sprinkled into our presentation.
I love a good dad joke.
I figured you would be the best person to bounce off dad jokes with Ryan.
Yes.
So without further ado, we're going to bring Ryan on and we'll jump into our presentation.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Excited to talk about exciting stuff like Mexico cross-border freight. So let's dive right into it.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and get started here.
Excellent. All right, well, let's start with a market overview. Basically, what's driving change in the U.S.-Mexico trade? Basic trade volumes, 2024, the U.S. imported 510 billion in goods from Mexico, while only exporting 334 billion. It's a pretty big trade deficit of 176 billion. Significant imbalance, right? So it's worth noting here that with this lopsided amount of northbound freight from Mexico, the need for southbound freight going back to Mexico is in very high demand. Carriers needing to keep up with northbound shipment volumes. You'll notice a significant cost savings routing shipments to Mexico versus shipments from Mexico. Current trends, with all the tariff talk, like Libby touched on, Mexico exports are declining currently. Canada faces uncertainty as well. It's just the unknown is affecting everything right now. With that being said, the market demand, Mexico's exports, sure, they're declining, but demand is still very high. We predict the demand to stay at current levels and eventually increase once hopefully trade deals are agreed upon. With tariffs being the hot issue, it's still very critical to note that imports from Mexico are one of the top trade relationships with the USA, sometimes taking over the number one spot from China. Leading the charge of imports from Mexico is the automotive and vehicle part industry. That's something, Riley, as you know, we dabble with or handle at a high volume daily.
Yeah, those are all great points. So speaking of market demand, what would you say are the most common pitfalls that companies face when entering the Mexico cross-border freight market?
That's a great question. Frankly, it's assuming it works like U.S. domestic freight. Documentation's more complex. Regulation differs. Carrier vetting is very critical. So not investing in the right partners like, brokers, freight forwarders, customs experts can lead to delays, costly mistakes, and very importantly, ensuring your shippers or vendors in Mexico are properly registered with a Mexican broker, and as a result with the Mexican tax authority.
Yeah, all really good points.
So yeah, let's jump into the modes and routes. You guys most frequently probably hear Laredo thrown around a lot, but there's several different crossing points. So Laredo and El Paso are the most significant points of entry. So Laredo alone averages 18,000 commercial trucks daily in both directions. So we talk Laredo a lot, but it's important that if you need guidance on any other service location like Otay Mesa, Reynosa, Nogales, others, it's critical to note here you must have customs brokers established offices and trailer yards in these locations for clearance purposes. Jumping into transit options, if you talk like terms of FedEx, like economy or priority, right? So utilizing a combination of expedited services such as team drivers or a slower, more economical option like rail and drayage. So flexibility and a full understanding here of the urgency and nature of the commodity, that's critical when picking the correct mode of transportation. So here at Bestway, Libby touched on a little bit in my intro, but we offer everything from one pallet LTL to time critical dry vans to, but if cost savings is your first priority, we can take a look at intermodal and rail if that's your best bet. But if you have an assembly line with a production schedule, definitely a dedicated truck solution with our GPS tracking. It's your best friend. Jumping on here to the border crossing connections, basically just diversifying your options. So make sure like we touched on, identified the solution that works best for you. Conditions at the border change daily. We've experienced lately a lot with the tariffs, but fortunately there's been a considerable amount of crime or just accidents at the border that causing disruptions as well. So it's critical you have a team in place to ensure your shipments cross in a timely manner, but keep in mind with what's in the realm of possibility or what's in the realm of what's possible. If your carrier solution utilizes B1 drivers, which are Mexican citizens working in essence on a temporary visa, where they're taking a trailer from Mexico, crossing the border, delivering to a named location in the United States, and then they must return back to Mexico. They are allowed to make a pickup in the United States, but the shipment must be heading back to the original port of entry, like Laredo or El Paso or whatnot. Other carrier solutions include border transfers, where you have local drivers that transfer the trailers across the border daily for the line haul drivers to hook up to for delivery. Both of these solutions have pros and cons, and if you guys are interested in exploring that more, hit me up offline and we can dive into that more.
Awesome.
So moving on here, regulatory landscape, lots of changes. So the Carta Porte, it's a legal document in Mexico's transportation industry. Basically, it's a critical piece. Think of it as the bill of lading on steroids. It's a mandatory legal document that details every aspect of every shipment, what's being moved, where it's coming from, where it's going, even the vehicle used. So without it, your freight can be delayed, fined, or even worse, we've heard horror stories of being seized by the authorities. So it's not just about paperwork, it's about risk management and compliance as well. If your carrier solution you're with, they will take the completed Carta Porte, they'll submit it for CFDI, which is a digital tax receipt required by the Mexican Tax Authority. And this is for all commercial transactions. The CFDI is then submitted to the Mexican customs broker, and they use it for generating the final piece for the crossing documents, which is the DOTA. A lot of these acronyms are in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish, so I apologize. If your carrier solution is a US-based carrier, it's easier in my opinion, but very less common. They just need to submit their W-9 to the Mexican broker, and they'll generate the DOTA. US carriers don't have a tax responsibility to the Mexican government. USMCA, we hear that thrown around a lot. It's not a box to check. It's how you unlock real savings and efficiency. If you meet the right rules, like origin requirements, labor value content, you can qualify for reduced tariffs, smoother customs clearance, and that's huge for shippers like we deal with daily in the automotive or agriculture or manufacturing industries. So the bottom line there, you want to get compliant, or you'll risk falling behind your competition. CTPAT. CTPAT, it's all about trust. Whether when you're certified CTPAT, you're telling U.S. Customs, we're secure, we know our supply chain, and we play by the rules. In return, you get real perks like fewer inspections, faster border clearances, access to fast lanes. It's a real game changer for sensitive shipments and high volume cross-border traffic.
That's interesting. Real quick before you move over, Libby, I feel like the last 2 or 3 years, the rules and regulations have changed at a very rapid rate.
Oh yeah.
And in the news lately, I've heard even more kind of crazy ideas thrown out there. What do you think is going to happen in the coming months, years with these rules and regulations? A couple of crazy ones have been thrown out there. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if I could predict the future, I'd make a lot of people a lot of money.
So asking you right now, Ryan, tell us the future.
I get those demands a lot, and I do my best, but I always shoot you straight. Basically, a lot of it depends on where things fall in the trade agreements, along with U.S. regulations. For example, in the news recently, you probably heard about the executive order for drivers to speak English. So I'm not exactly sure what type of test that would entail and to what degree. It seems very ambiguous, but definitely stuff like that is something to keep an eye on. Beyond that, I would expect, shippers in Mexico are still adapting to the updated Carta Porte processes, but I expect that to become more automated and easier to handle.
Excellent.
All right, moving on. Current challenges, regulatory uncertainty. We just touched on that a little bit. So basically, U.S.-Mexico trade policy is evolving, ever evolving. With the next U.S.-MCA joint review, it's set for mid-2026. There's a lot of behind-the-scene discussion how that could impact how we operate, whether it's tariffs, compliance, labor rules. We're likely to see changes. So my advice to our clients or anybody out there would be stay agile and stay informed. Key industries. So we touched on USMCA a little bit. Let's talk about how that affects some of the biggest sectors in North American trade. Sorry if I jumped ahead a little bit there, Libby. Appreciate that. Automotive. Basically for automotive, the biggest shift in stricter rules of origin. Vehicles now need a higher percentage of North American-made parts to qualify for tariff benefits. That's put real pressure on supply chains and driving more regional sourcing. Agriculture. In agriculture, the agreement modernized trade rules, giving U.S. farmers, agribusinesses access to more access and fewer barriers, I should say. This is especially important for perishables at the border. They want to cross efficiently and quickly. Nobody likes spoiled avocados, right? So. Manufacturing. For manufacturing and services, USMCA boosts protections for U.S. intellectual property and creates more trade opportunities. These things, they weren't even on the radar back in the NAFTA days. And just a quick disclaimer here, I am not a USMCA expert in terms of the details. I'm mostly involved on the transportation side of shipments. But if you have any questions, please reach out to us and reach out to me. I'll gladly connect you to somebody on our compliance team.
Absolutely. Good call out. We are fully staffed with experts in every subject matter. So whatever you need, we can always connect you with someone, even if we don't necessarily have the answer off the dome.
Absolutely. Opportunities and best practices, leveraging brokers and third parties or freight forwarders, for example. So cross-border logistics, it's definitely something you don't want to figure out on the fly. That's where the experts come in, the freight forwarders come in. They know the regulatory landscape, port nuances. This can all help you avoid costly delays. The right partner here, helps make the difference between a smooth execution and shipment headaches. Behind the scenes view of how we operate here at Bestway, we're in constant contact with all parties throughout transit. This includes the shipper, carrier, U.S. customs broker, Mexican customs broker, and receiver. Our team is uniquely set up to communicate through various mediums. One of the most popular one we use is WhatsApp. It's very popular in Mexico. So if you ever have the luxury or if you're ever near us and you see me or my team, you'll often see us communicating via something like WhatsApp and providing solutions. And we might even pull up Google Translate. It's our best friend, hasn't failed us yet. So long story short, we strive to be flexible. We put people first and we have fun while being our best. The next one here, TMS Tech Solutions. Long story short, guys, a great freight forwarder paired with a good TMS is like having mission control of your freight. It gives you real-time visibility, can automate paperwork, provide a historical archive of past shipments for references or documentation, and helps you make smarter decisions faster. This is critical, especially in cross-border moves when timing and compliance are everything. All right, this one might be a shocker to some people. Insurance claims and mitigation, risk mitigation. One critical difference in Mexico is that carriers are not legally required to carry cargo insurance. That blew my mind when I first learned that, but it is the reality down there. But so if there is loss, theft, damage, shippers, if they're not up to speed, they can be left exposed. So on top of that, you have certain corridors in Mexico that carry higher crime risks. That's why it's essential to have proper cargo insurance and mitigation strategies in place. So whether that's GPS tracking, proper vetting of carriers, secured transit routes, with it being commonplace that Mexican carriers are not legally required to carry the insurance, it's also commonplace that Mexican shippers are globally insured in case something goes wrong. If the shipper is not globally insured, or you want to explore additional insurance or add-on insurance, your freight forwarder should be able to help you with that. We certainly can.
Yeah, one additional note on that. You were talking about certain areas in Mexico.
Yep.
I think the supplier vetting, if somebody's looking to get into find suppliers in Mexico, that is a very crucial step to find high capacity, low crime areas. And, talking with somebody who ships out of Mexico every day is a good place to start, right? So if somebody called and was looking in certain areas, you'd be able to help direct them into high capacity, lower crime areas for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important when you're vetting your carriers, when you're having the conversations, you understand where they operate out of and where they have yards at. We operate a high volume lane out of southern Mexico, where there's the capacity is very slim. We have a relationship down there, and the relationship, one of the rules is they don't drive at night. So the pickups happen. The driver takes it straight to the yard, shuts it down, and transit begins once the sun comes up in the morning. So just understanding those nuances and challenges. When I said earlier, one of the biggest pitfalls is thinking of transportation in Mexico like U.S. transportation. It's not the same. You really have to have a full understanding and not just, hey, I need a truck here and I need it delivered by this time.
Yeah, you bring up some good points there. When you talk about the lane where the driver won't drive at night, is that just to mitigate risk in terms of like crime or damages?
Yes, basically cartel risks, basically theft, and even worse. So it's something we respect greatly in terms of, we don't put pressure on the carrier to, if something's very urgent, people first, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's what's most important. And it kind of just goes back to what you said about vetting your suppliers and your carriers and ensuring that you have good partners really, really matters in those parts of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so now we just kind of want to open it up to any questions or comments that the audience has. If you want to throw those in the chat, we'll be sure to answer them. Anything related to ground freight Mexico, you have two really great resources here to answer any of those questions. So I'll give us a couple minutes to put your questions in. So before we get to that, Riley, did you have any closing thoughts you wanted to throw, Ryan? Any?
No, that was awesome. The one thing on the TMS part, you were talking about visibility.
Mhm.
I think it's safe to say that 8 years ago, there was no visibility when trucks were moving in Mexico. Can you tell us a little bit more about what somebody might be able to see now in terms of connecting with ELDs and customer portal and things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. So it basically is a connection directly to the tractor. You can also have trailer trackers as well. Our specific system pulls location every 7 minutes. Depending on the carrier, there's also further visibility. One carrier we work with, you pull it up, it's real time. You can actually see the miles per hour. And an example of compliance and risk mitigation with this specific carrier, unfortunately, we had an incident where the dry van was forced off the road by another carrier, and we were notified that there was an accident and there was potential for damage, and luckily nobody was hurt. But to paint the picture, they were able to send us the in-cab video, and we could see the whole thing spell out. So it was made everyone feel a lot more comfortable, especially our client, when they're like, okay, yeah, this wasn't our fault, wasn't the carrier's fault. This is just unfortunate circumstance that can arise when you ship goods.
Yeah, and jumping out in front of that and having all that data is awesome for sure.
Absolutely. And like you said, I mean, you said 8 years ago in the United States, these things were scarce, but now being able to offer it in other countries, Mexico included, is it helps our operations team and our clients greatly.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we'll give a couple more minutes for anybody else in the chat that wants to do that. And we do always offer gift cards for whoever has the best questions. So if you want to hop in, throw questions right now. The bar's very doable if you want to win that gift card.
I have been on the edge of my seat this entire time, paying attention. But what are these? Give me one of these legendary dad jokes. Just one.
I told you I tabled them, Riley. I had to give it up. So little insight into the dad joke, I should say. I got two little girls. They're very partial to their mom, so I got to stay on my toes and make them chuckle from time to time to keep them as my favorite. So
There you go.
So I'm going to pass. Sorry, Riley.
That's all right. That's good because we got a question that just came in.
Excellent.
More time to think of your dad joke. We have a question from Sierra Hayes. She's asking, who is responsible for the completion of the, and I'm going to butcher this, Cartaport. Thank you.
Cartaporte. So
Cartaporte.
typically what we see, well, the short answer is the shipper. The long answer is, and the process answer would be that the carrier provides a template to the shipper. The shipper completes that. We send it back to the carrier. And then the carrier submits it for the tax documentation, which is eventually used to generate the final piece, the dotted across. So 9 times out of 10 or 99 out of 100 would be the shipper.
Awesome. That was a great question, Sierra.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
That.
Gift card winner, Sierra.
Sounds like it. Yeah, we appreciate that. Anyone else who wants to throw in, I'll do a last call for questions. Or else Riley and Ryan are going to go dad joke for dad joke.
We don't want that.
We won't do that to these people. They're too nice.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we can go ahead and wrap it up. I really want to give a thank you to Ryan for being able and willing to share some insight and jump on here. For anyone else who has questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Riley, or Ryan. We'll make sure we get an answer for you. Next month, we will be talking about cargo insurance. We're going to have a representative from Roanoke Insurance join us to answer all questions about that. We actually just had another question pop in from the one and only Jay Devers. How does CPKC play into all of this?
Ooh, intermodal. Great question, Jay. Riley, you've actually had a meeting with CPKC not too long ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have more insights into them. Do you have anything to elaborate on there?
Yeah, there's definitely specific lanes where that makes a ton of sense to look into it. Obviously, extended transit times. One of the key benefits is cruising right by the border. When it goes intermodal, you can deal with all the documentation and things of that nature before it lands at its hub. So that's super nice. The pricing for a couple of years there, let's go backtrack 8 years. Intermodal was significantly cheaper than trucking. And then there was probably a 2 to 3 year spell where the rates were pretty equal. So it didn't make a ton of sense on the intermodal side for an extended period of time. It's kind of going back to normal levels where it is becoming a better time to look into the intermodal side of things and just understanding your transit times. Capacity is a real big thing, making sure that you know exactly how much capacity you need. It's a lot of container allocation and things of that nature that everybody needs to have the same understanding of what's required. But man, when you get that all sorted out with the pricing coming back to levels that catch people's eye, it's a good time to dive into that and take a look at it, see if it works within what you need to accomplish in your supply chain.
Absolutely. Just to piggyback off that a little bit, if you're sending a quote request and expecting an intermodal quote to come with it, we really got to dive into the specific lane, right? Not all shippers and not all locations will qualify for that. Cost, like Riley pointed out, it can be surprising at times. There's often times where we get cost back and it happens to be more expensive or equal to a truck. So we can talk through that. And a lot of times that's just demand and lane oriented. And there's also the aspect of there's more northbound freight than southbound freight. So equipment shortages can come into play there as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. Jay, I think unfortunately you don't qualify to win a gift card, but still a great point to bring up. And yeah, we talk about intermodal a lot here and we like to look into all options, but that is one of those things that just kind of changes with market conditions. So there will, like we mentioned, be times where it's just going to be more expensive than sending it on a truck, but that's always a good thing to look into because market always changes. And we love to be able to present options and solutions here.
One other topic that I didn't really touch on very much is almost, I would say 95% of our dry van cross-border moves are door-to-door. They are not transloaded at the border. So the risk mitigation and damage is way lower. And it keeps the GPS visibility much more streamlined. So something to talk about. Love to have conversations with anyone who's willing to hear me out on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of our show. I want to thank you, Ryan, once again, Riley, for being here. Everyone who listened and participated, we really appreciate you guys. We will be back next month, June 18th, to be talking about all things cargo insurance with David Pasco from Roanoke. We're really looking forward to that. As always, I will send a follow-up email with a link to this presentation, and please reach out with any questions. We are happy to help with anything you guys need. So I think that's all I have to say. Again, thanks everyone for being here, and we'll catch you next time. Oh, wait. Got another question. No worries. We'll stay on and answer it. Logan wants to know what options are available to move 1 to 2 pallet shipments southbound, and how does it compare to TL offerings?
So we do a lot of Sprinter and small box trucks. A lot of the times that is the 5% I was talking about. They do require a transload at the border. But we also offer, LTL offerings as well. We have a whole product team involved just in Mexican LTL. But yeah, definitely would love to talk to you about that, Logan. And I'm trying to think through your specific cargo. In terms of offerings on the flatbed side, that is different. We would typically route a full-size truck. There's not too many goosenecks going across the border down there. But, there's definitely options to consider on that side.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate all your questions here, guys.
So we have 2 winners and 1 loser on the questions.
2 winners.
Yeah, let's give Logan a gift card as well.
Jay lose. Got it. Right.
Just keeping a tally here at the office.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I really appreciate everyone being here today, and we'll catch you on our next show. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.